In a land where mountains whispered their secrets and winds carried news across vast deserts, there once emerged a king unlike any the world had ever known. He was not merely a ruler seated upon a throne of gold, nor was he famed only for his grand palaces or vast armies. Rather, he was legendary for something far more remarkable: his extraordinary wisdom and an unmatched connection to realms hidden from ordinary eyes. His name was Sulaiman, prophet and king, whose knowledge extended far beyond human understanding, a man gifted by Allah with powers that blurred the lines between mortal and mystical. His dominion stretched across vast territories, encompassing majestic palaces of stone and marble, courtyards filled with fountains that sparkled like jewels under the sun, and gardens blossoming perpetually in hues of emerald and ruby. But the true splendor of Prophet Sulaiman's kingdom lay not in earthly riches alone. It was embedded deeply in his miraculous gifts and abilities. Prophet Sulaiman spoke the languages of creatures great and small, communicating effortlessly with birds soaring high above and ants laboring diligently beneath his feet. He understood their whispers, their worries, their joy and fear. From the smallest insect hidden beneath a leaf to the largest elephant moving gracefully through dense forests, every creature respected his wisdom and obeyed his commands, willingly aligning themselves under his compassionate rule. Such was the harmony of his realm that nature itself seemed to bow in acknowledgement, weaving itself seamlessly into the fabric of his daily existence. Yet even beyond the natural world, Sulaiman's wisdom spanned into unseen dimensions, penetrating realms where mysterious beings, jinn, roamed unseen, powerful and ethereal. Under his divine mandate, these beings yielded, crafting great palaces and monuments overnight, carrying out tasks far beyond mortal capability. His very name echoed through cities and kingdoms, both human and unseen, spoken with reverence and awe. Sulaiman's strength, however, was not derived from the grandeur or might of his vast kingdom alone, nor from dominion over creatures unseen. His true power resided in a heart utterly devoted to the Almighty, forever humble despite the staggering scale of his authority. He was, above all else, a servant of Allah, gifted extraordinary wisdom to guide and govern, always mindful that his powers were entrusted to him for the betterment of humanity and the glorification of his Creator. Far away from Prophet Sulaiman's majestic city, beyond scorching deserts and towering mountains, lay the ancient kingdom of Sheba, a civilization that thrived in prosperity and splendor, radiating with sophistication and wisdom of its own. Sheba was famed for trade caravans loaded with frankincense, spices, gold and silk, winding their way across deserts and through bustling markets far beyond its borders. At the heart of this wealthy and sophisticated realm stood an illustrious queen, a woman whose legendary wisdom had earned her the admiration and respect of her subjects and neighboring kingdoms alike. Known as Bilqis, the Queen of Sheba ruled with a balanced hand, governing with prudence, thoughtfulness, and extraordinary judgment. Her decisions were never rash nor driven by mere impulse. Instead, she governed through counsel and careful reflection, her court filled with advisors who were wise and trusted, yet always awaiting her decisive voice to lead them forward. Bilqis was known not only for her intelligence and diplomatic grace, but also for her radiant splendor symbolized in the majestic throne upon which she sat. Crafted intricately with gold, silver, pearls and gemstones shimmering brilliantly under sunlight, her throne was more than just a seat of power. It embodied the spirit and the prosperity of Sheba itself. Visitors from distant lands often spoke in awe of its exquisite artistry, narrating tales of its unmatched beauty and reinforcing the legend of a queen whose very presence illuminated her kingdom. But within the heart of this flourishing civilization, beneath layers of grandeur and cultural sophistication, a profound spiritual ignorance persisted. Bilqis and her people had grown accustomed to the worship of the sun, venerating the celestial body as a source of life and light, unaware of the greater reality beyond their perception. Thus, Sheba flourished materially, yet remained veiled spiritually, its people guided by traditions handed down through generations, never questioning the celestial worship that had defined their beliefs for centuries. Prophet Sulaiman's and Queen Bilqis's kingdoms stood at opposite ends of the spectrum, one rooted in clear divine guidance and humble submission to the one true God, the other majestic yet spiritually incomplete, immersed in the grandeur of creation while oblivious to the greatness of the Creator. Neither yet aware of the profound encounter destined to change the course of their histories, bringing enlightenment, submission, and spiritual transformation through the meeting of two extraordinary rulers whose wisdom would be tested and whose hearts would open to truths greater than any they had known. Amidst the splendor of Prophet Sulaiman's kingdom, the rhythm of life flowed harmoniously, each creature carrying out its role under divine orchestration. But one day, as Sulaiman inspected his vast array of subjects, both visible and invisible, his attentive gaze caught something amiss. One of his trusted envoys, a small yet significant creature, the hoopoe bird, was notably absent from its place. Prophet Sulaiman, ever vigilant, was a ruler who noticed even the minutest detail, and the absence of the hoopoe stirred his curiosity and slight displeasure. He wondered aloud, expressing the gravity of this unusual occurrence, questioning where the bird might have gone without permission and vowing a stern consequence if no valid excuse were forthcoming. Yet, not long after, the flutter of wings drew Sulaiman's attention as the hoopoe returned, its demeanor urgent and filled with a remarkable tale. Prophet Sulaiman, patient yet authoritative, demanded an explanation for this mysterious absence. The bird, bowing humbly, began to relay a breathtaking account, a journey that took him far beyond familiar territories into lands previously unknown. He spoke of crossing scorching deserts and flying tirelessly over endless expanses of golden sands until he reached a kingdom whose brilliance rivaled even Sulaiman's own realm. There, nestled amidst vast wealth and elegance, he found Sheba, a magnificent land ruled by an exceptionally wise queen named Bilqis, whose splendor was matched only by her throne, an artifact so grand it dazzled the very eyes of the beholder. Yet amid this dazzling material abundance, the hoopoe observed a troubling reality, a spiritual darkness that lay beneath Sheba's glittering exterior. The people, despite their wisdom and sophistication, worshipped the sun, prostrating before a creation rather than the Creator. The bird's voice resonated with genuine sorrow, stressing to Prophet Sulaiman how deeply misguided the people of Sheba were, how they remained unaware of the greatness of Allah, who alone deserved worship. Prophet Sulaiman, moved by the hoopoe's vivid description and his sincere concern for a nation lost in ignorance, decided upon swift and compassionate action. Instructing the hoopoe with authority yet kindness, Sulaiman composed a concise yet powerful message, a letter crafted not merely to assert power or dominance, but rather to guide a people who had strayed into the light of divine truth. This letter was no ordinary missive. It was imbued with wisdom and carried within its brief lines both a warning and an invitation, a call to abandon their worship of the sun and embrace submission to Allah, the Almighty, the Lord of all creation. Sulaiman instructed the hoopoe to deliver this letter to Bilqis herself with clarity and humility, ensuring the queen would fully grasp the seriousness of the message she was receiving. The hoopoe, recognizing the magnitude of this task, carried the message swiftly back to Sheba, traversing deserts with urgency, feeling the weight of a mission that could potentially alter the destiny of an entire civilization. When the letter reached Bilqis, she was immediately intrigued, yet cautious, as a queen known for her measured judgment and prudent discernment. As she read Sulaiman's message, she sensed that this was no ordinary invitation or diplomatic gesture, but rather a profound challenge to her beliefs and the foundations of her kingdom's spiritual practices. The words of the letter echoed in her mind, resonating deeply. It was not merely a summons, but a confrontation with truths that had previously remained hidden from her and her people. Bilqis, ever wise and deliberate, immediately convened her council of advisors, nobles, and trusted generals, placing before them the remarkable letter that had arrived from the distant prophet king Sulaiman. She sought their counsel, valuing their insights while carefully gauging their reactions. Some, driven by pride and misplaced confidence, suggested a swift military response, confident in their kingdom's wealth, strength, and strategic advantages. They urged Bilqis toward war, mistakenly believing that Sheba's power could easily overwhelm any distant threat. Yet Bilqis, whose wisdom had been tempered through years of careful reflection and judgment, hesitated to follow such reckless advice. She knew war often brought needless devastation and suffering, and might not guarantee the victory her advisors presumed. Thus, instead of embracing conflict, Bilqis chose a path of prudent diplomacy. Deciding to test the intentions and sincerity of Prophet Sulaiman, she prepared an extraordinary gift, a collection of precious treasures, gold and jewels of unimaginable worth, presented as a test rather than merely a gesture of respect or submission. She understood well that a true prophet, one driven by divine guidance, would not be swayed by material wealth. Thus, she sent emissaries laden with these splendid gifts, carefully instructing them to observe closely how Prophet Sulaiman would respond upon receiving such dazzling wealth. The ambassadors journeyed across vast lands and finally arrived at Sulaiman's grand court, presenting the queen's opulent treasures before him. Prophet Sulaiman, perceiving immediately the deeper intention behind Bilqis's offering, firmly and graciously declined. His response was clear and resolute, informing the emissaries that the wealth offered meant nothing compared to the spiritual truth he sought to impart. He emphasized to Bilqis's ambassadors that Allah had already blessed him with abundant resources and unparalleled wisdom. And his true intention was not conquest of territories or accumulation of earthly treasures, but the guidance of hearts toward true worship and recognition of their Creator. The emissaries returned to Sheba deeply impressed and slightly awed by Prophet Sulaiman's dignified and principled response. When Bilqis heard the account of Sulaiman's reaction, his firm refusal and his sincere emphasis on spiritual truth, she felt a stirring within her, an awakening of curiosity mingled with profound respect. Her heart began to sense the authenticity behind Prophet Sulaiman's words, and she pondered deeply the implications of his invitation to abandon her people's long-standing beliefs. Reflecting on these remarkable events, Queen Bilqis, wise and discerning, realized she stood at a critical crossroads. Her encounter with Prophet Sulaiman's wisdom, humility, and clear sense of purpose had left a profound impression, one that would shape the fate of her kingdom. Though cautious and measured, she felt drawn by something powerful, something beyond mere diplomacy or political maneuvering, a gentle yet compelling pull toward truth, humility, and submission. Yet, the decision to abandon generations of sun worship and embrace the unseen reality proclaimed by Prophet Sulaiman was not easy. It was a choice that demanded not just political courage, but spiritual awakening, a genuine shift of heart. Queen Bilqis knew that the next steps she took would forever transform both her life and the destiny of her people, leading either to spiritual enlightenment or the continuation of an incomplete existence beneath the shadow of the sun. When Queen Bilqis received word from her envoys about Prophet Sulaiman's dignified rejection of her lavish gifts and his unwavering commitment to spiritual truth over worldly treasures, her curiosity deepened further. The sincerity and humility evident in his message resonated within her heart, igniting a longing to discover firsthand the authenticity of his claims and the grandeur of his kingdom. Bilqis, ever thoughtful and deliberate, resolved that she herself would journey to meet this remarkable prophet king, whose wisdom defied the allure of riches, power, and earthly dominion. She summoned her trusted advisors and informed them of her intentions, preparing them carefully for the journey ahead. Yet, as she set forth, she pondered deeply, fully aware of the gravity of the situation and the profound implications her decision carried. Not merely for her own spiritual awakening, but for the entire kingdom of Sheba, whose destiny lay intricately woven into her choices. Back in Prophet Sulaiman's realm, preparations were already underway to receive the queen. Sulaiman, guided by divine wisdom, knew that the forthcoming meeting was more than just a diplomatic event. It was a pivotal moment intended to transform hearts and lead the people of Sheba from spiritual ignorance into enlightenment. To reveal the magnitude of Allah's power and to open Bilqis's eyes fully to the truth, Sulaiman contemplated an extraordinary demonstration, a miraculous feat that would unmistakably affirm his divine message. Addressing his vast assembly of followers, humans and jinn alike, Prophet Sulaiman posed a remarkable challenge. He sought someone capable of bringing Queen Bilqis's legendary throne from Sheba to his court before she arrived, to astonish her with the undeniable signs of Allah's power. Initially, one mighty jinn swiftly stepped forward, confidently asserting his ability to deliver the throne before Prophet Sulaiman could even rise from his seat, a feat truly astounding, yet still not immediate enough. Prophet Sulaiman, patiently awaiting a superior demonstration, listened carefully until another figure, one deeply knowledgeable in the divine scripture, stepped forward humbly, promising something far more extraordinary: to bring Bilqis's throne in the blink of an eye, an instant transport from Sheba's distant kingdom directly to Prophet Sulaiman's majestic court. With a simple yet profound acknowledgement, Sulaiman permitted this miraculous act. In an instant, through Allah's limitless power and grace, Bilqis's throne materialized before Prophet Sulaiman, its exquisite gems glittering brilliantly, undisturbed, exactly as it had been within the royal palace of Sheba, far away across vast deserts and mountains. Awed yet composed, Prophet Sulaiman immediately expressed gratitude to Allah, deeply humbled by the miracle he had just witnessed. He understood profoundly that these signs were not mere displays of power meant for worldly prestige, but rather intended to guide hearts toward true submission and sincere worship. Aware that Queen Bilqis would soon arrive, he instructed his court to subtly alter her throne, disguising it slightly to test her perception, insight, and wisdom when she eventually stood before it. His aim was not to deceive, but rather to illustrate to Bilqis the clear and profound difference between mere worldly wisdom and true spiritual insight that could perceive beyond the superficial. As Queen Bilqis approached Prophet Sulaiman's majestic city, she was greeted by a splendor unlike any she had ever imagined. Yet her sharp intellect remained keenly attentive, analyzing every detail. Prophet Sulaiman graciously welcomed her with dignity, warmth, and kindness, immediately demonstrating the essence of divine humility. After greeting her with the respect due to a sovereign of her stature, he guided her into the great hall, where her very own throne, slightly altered, stood prominently before her eyes. Prophet Sulaiman gently questioned Bilqis, asking if this throne appeared familiar, subtly testing her discernment and the depth of her insight. Bilqis, taken aback by the sight, felt an immediate recognition mingled with astonishment. Her quick mind raced to comprehend how this throne, so intimately known to her and yet so distant, could possibly have been transported here. She responded cautiously yet truthfully, acknowledging its similarity to her throne, although she could hardly imagine such a miraculous transfer was possible. Deep within her, a profound shift began taking root, slowly illuminating her heart. She now fully realized she stood in the presence of no ordinary ruler, but rather a prophet whose authority clearly transcended ordinary human limitations. Yet Prophet Sulaiman's plan to unveil the profound truth to Bilqis had one more astonishing chapter. Understanding fully that material signs alone might not completely awaken Bilqis's spiritual awareness, Sulaiman instructed his skilled craftsmen, aided by the jinn, to create an extraordinary spectacle within his palace. A floor crafted from the purest crystal-clear glass, flawlessly transparent, reflecting and refracting light like a serene pool of pristine water. This construction was not merely a display of artistry or luxury. It was carefully designed to deliver yet another powerful lesson to Bilqis, one that would strike deeply at her heart, guiding her toward full understanding and submission. When Bilqis entered the chamber and saw what appeared to be shimmering water covering the entire floor, she hesitated instinctively, lifting the hem of her gown slightly, cautiously stepping forward to prevent it from becoming wet. Observing her careful movements, Prophet Sulaiman gently revealed the truth to her. The illusion she perceived was merely transparent glass, a subtle yet potent reminder of the limitations of human perception and judgment. Bilqis was momentarily stunned, deeply humbled by this gentle yet powerful lesson. In that moment of revelation, her heart surrendered entirely to the truths Prophet Sulaiman had sought to reveal. The clarity of the crystal floor symbolized for her the clear distinction between illusion and reality, the difference between misguided worship and the worship of the one true God who held power over all creation. Her journey, initially driven by cautious curiosity, had led her to a profound spiritual awakening. Queen Bilqis, wise beyond measure and humbled by these extraordinary experiences, recognized fully that the wealth, power, and wisdom she had once esteemed paled significantly when compared to the divine wisdom Prophet Sulaiman possessed and the spiritual truth he embodied. Reflecting deeply upon all she had seen, from the instantaneous relocation of her throne to the captivating illusion of the crystal-clear floor, Bilqis surrendered her heart to the truth that had been gently yet convincingly revealed to her. She realized fully now that Prophet Sulaiman's kingdom, though magnificent and powerful, derived its true greatness not from earthly wealth or human might, but from the sincere submission and humility to Allah, the only true source of wisdom and power. With her heart filled with humility and awe, Queen Bilqis embraced the faith Prophet Sulaiman had invited her towards, relinquishing forever the spiritual darkness of her past, opening her soul entirely to divine guidance and enlightenment. Queen Bilqis, having experienced firsthand the astonishing signs and miracles within Prophet Sulaiman's court, felt a transformation so profound that it resonated throughout every fiber of her being. Her initial journey, driven by careful skepticism and cautious diplomacy, had led her through astonishing revelations. First, the instantaneous appearance of her own throne, transported miraculously from her distant homeland. And then, the delicate yet compelling lesson delivered through the crystal-clear floor, which powerfully demonstrated the illusions of worldly perception versus the truth that lay beneath. Now, standing amidst the grandeur of Prophet Sulaiman's palace, Bilqis found herself immersed in contemplation deeper than she had ever known, reflecting profoundly upon all that had unfolded, not just as a queen tasked with ruling a prosperous nation, but as a soul yearning for genuine enlightenment. As the layers of illusion peeled away from her understanding, Bilqis recognized clearly that the sun she had once revered, magnificent as it was, remained merely a created entity, subject to the divine laws set forth by a creator infinitely greater. The wisdom of Prophet Sulaiman had gently yet decisively guided her toward recognizing the boundless greatness of Allah, the one true God who transcended all creation. With this awakening, Bilqis realized that her previous spiritual ignorance had been like a veil, masking her vision from a far greater truth. She began to comprehend profoundly the purpose of her journey, not simply to resolve diplomatic tensions or assess the might of another kingdom, but to encounter a spiritual transformation powerful enough to change the course of her life and the destiny of her entire nation. Bilqis, deeply moved by these realizations, declared openly and sincerely her submission to Allah, the Lord of Prophet Sulaiman and the Lord of all worlds. In doing so, she symbolically renounced her past, publicly turning away from sun worship and all that had characterized her former spiritual life. This act of sincere submission was not just a simple declaration of faith. It represented a powerful example to her people, illustrating a profound humility born from true wisdom. It was an acknowledgement that even the greatest earthly power or wisdom, without genuine submission and humility before the Almighty, remained incomplete and ultimately misguided. Her courageous decision to embrace the truth was powerful enough to ripple outward, compelling her kingdom to reconsider their long-held beliefs and traditions, gradually transforming the spiritual heart of Sheba from worship of the created to sincere devotion to the Creator. Returning to her homeland, Bilqis brought with her a profound message of spiritual awakening. No longer merely a queen admired for her earthly wisdom and diplomatic finesse, she now stood as a transformed figure, one who had glimpsed the deeper truths of existence and willingly surrendered to the divine wisdom revealed to her. Her subjects, initially bewildered and intrigued by the radical shift in their queen's beliefs, began to witness the remarkable changes in her demeanor, decisions, and priorities. The pride and grandeur that had once defined Sheba now harmonized beautifully with humility and spiritual enlightenment. Bilqis guided her people with renewed insight and compassion, her governance shaped profoundly by the lessons she had learned from Prophet Sulaiman and the clear signs she had witnessed in his kingdom. Gradually, under her wise and compassionate leadership, the kingdom of Sheba transformed into a beacon of both material prosperity and spiritual clarity, reflecting the true wisdom of submission to Allah. Prophet Sulaiman, observing the remarkable transformation in Queen Bilqis and the ripple effect it produced in her kingdom, was filled with gratitude toward Allah. He understood deeply that his own role had been merely as a vessel, guided and supported by divine favor, through whom the truths of submission and sincere faith were clearly manifested. Prophet Sulaiman reflected humbly upon the miraculous abilities and vast dominion entrusted to him, fully recognizing that such immense blessings were tests from Allah, meant not for worldly glory or pride, but rather for guiding humanity toward a higher purpose and a deeper connection with their Creator. The encounter between Prophet Sulaiman and Queen Bilqis thus became more than a mere historical event. It evolved into a timeless lesson, a profound reminder of how genuine wisdom is intricately woven with sincere submission and humility before Allah. Looking back at their remarkable meeting, it became clear that the story of Bilqis and Prophet Sulaiman carried essential lessons for humanity, both in ancient times and modern days. The transformative power of their encounter illustrated vividly that wisdom, devoid of humility or spiritual insight, remains incomplete and often misdirected. Their story revealed profoundly how true wisdom that endures, transforms, and uplifts, comes only from recognizing our limitations as human beings, surrendering genuinely and humbly to the infinite wisdom of the Almighty. Bilqis's journey from a position of worldly authority and spiritual blindness to one of humble submission and profound enlightenment serves as an eternal example that true greatness is never measured by wealth, power, or earthly prestige alone, but rather by the sincerity of one's heart and the depth of one's submission to divine guidance. The lessons drawn from the lives of Prophet Sulaiman and Queen Bilqis remain profoundly relevant in contemporary society. Their experiences teach us clearly that genuine leadership is characterized not merely by material wealth or military might, but primarily by humility, spiritual clarity, and the courage to lead people from ignorance into truth. Bilqis's willingness to challenge her long-held beliefs, to approach the unknown with openness and sincerity, and ultimately to embrace truth even at great personal and social risk, remains profoundly instructive. Similarly, Prophet Sulaiman's wisdom, expressed consistently through humility, restraint, and sincere devotion, provides timeless guidance for leaders and individuals alike, reminding us always of the importance of humility and spiritual awareness in navigating life's complexities. Their narrative encourages reflection upon the nature of our own wisdom and the sincerity of our submission. It invites us to consider deeply whether our pursuits, values, and choices align with genuine spiritual enlightenment or merely serve worldly ambitions and temporary pleasures. Ultimately, the profound transformations witnessed through Bilqis and Prophet Sulaiman's extraordinary meeting illuminate a powerful truth: that true fulfillment, wisdom, and clarity come not from accumulating material wealth or temporal power, but from genuine surrender to the eternal wisdom and guidance of the Almighty. As their story endures through generations, inspiring countless hearts towards spiritual awakening, humility, and deeper understanding, the legacy of Queen Bilqis and Prophet Sulaiman stands as an enduring testament to the power of sincere faith, genuine humility, and enlightened leadership. Their lives remind humanity forever of the profound truth that wisdom without submission remains incomplete, and that submission itself, embraced sincerely and courageously, is the key that unlocks the deepest spiritual mysteries, leading us toward a harmonious existence, guided eternally by the light and wisdom of the One who created all that exists.